Good morning and welcome to Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Shane Matthews, Mr. Two-Bit, John Cornell with his Gator gear on today. It is game day in Gainesville. 9 o'clock tonight. The LSU Tigers are rolling into the O'Connell Center. And JC will be leading cheers from section 18.
The LSU game is always a good game. I don't know what it is about LSU, but I always like it when Florida and LSU get together in anything, in baseball, basketball, football. And tonight's game at 9 o'clock, even though it's going to be late, hopefully we'll have a spirited crowd and a good turnout for a very good team coming in here that's just as we talked about before the show, QB, just as young as Florida on the roster side of things. They are very successful so far in the season with this team, as they are currently basically just a half game behind Auburn for second in the league. Auburn, of course, winning last night, getting that 11th win. LSU has 10. Florida is right there as well. They are positioned in the 4-hole in the SEC standings right now at 17-10. And this is a very big game for the resume. It's a very big game for confidence. It's a very big game for Florida as they try to build that resume for March. And I certainly think after the way they played this team in Baton Rouge, that tonight's game looks pretty good for Florida, hopefully being on the home court. They are a 5-point favorite. So LSU has some traveling to do. They go to Texas A&M after this. So this is a very important time for them, and we are going to hear more about LSU and this basketball team, maybe get into some LSU baseball and talk LSU with Billy Embody, our LSU guy from Baton Rouge, at about 8:15 today.
Yeah, 8:15, Billy Embody, who covers LSU for 24/7 Sports on the Go247.com website. We'll talk to him about the game. We'll also talk a little LSU football with spring football kicking off. At 8:30, we hope to have Josh Hammond, former Gator wide receiver, number 10, join us, talk about his career a little bit, what he's doing, prepare for the NFL draft, pro day, all that good stuff. But last night in college basketball, if you missed it in the conference, well, first of all, before we get to the conference, the mighty Duke Blue Devils have now lost back-to-back road games at NC State, and they lost to the bottom feeder of the ACC, Wake Forest. And here's what's crazy, JC.
That is crazy.
Duke was ahead 9 points with 75 seconds left in the game.
That's not the
goes into overtime, goes into double overtime, and Duke loses to Wake Forest.
Did they? I guess they stormed the court.
Of course they did.
113-101. Wow, 113-101, 2 overtimes. That is a big loss, or just a big win for Wake. I don't know.
I'm telling you,
Wake
the best team in the
anywhere,
ACC are the Semis, hands down.
No, I don't doubt that for 1 second. I agree with you 100%. Another big game was Michigan State beating Iowa in the Big Ten, 78-70. The Dayton Flyers of Anthony Grant, remember him? He was here, 26-2 on the year right now, first in the Atlantic 10 Conference, and they win by 7 over George Mason at George Mason. That Dayton team is absolutely online to get a top 4 seed, and I certainly think right now you'd maybe even think about putting them ahead of San Diego State, who lost to BYU over the weekend. So, it's not really realistic to say, a team's going to run the table like Indiana did in 1976 and win all their games in basketball. That's just not realistic. So I understand how San Diego State could go and lose at BYU, but this Dayton team is a team you got to keep your eye on. They're 26-2, and so if you love basketball, that's certainly
they probably have the player who's going to win the Heisman Trophy version of basketball. You know his name? Obi Toppin.
Yeah, Obi Toppin.
Yeah. Last night in the SEC, Auburn defeats Ole Miss 67-58. Kentucky goes on the road at A&M, wins 69-60.
That's a good win.
And Mississippi State, which was a big win because it's kind of a loser, you're out of the tournament mix, beats Alabama 80-73. Well, unfortunate for Alabama. One of their best players, John Petty, goes down with a nasty elbow injury. He comes back out. He doesn't play, but they have him in a brace. I don't know if he dislocated his elbow, hyperextended or what, but he's a tremendous player. It's a shooting arm, so I don't know how long he'll be out. Tonight in the SEC, Georgia's at South Carolina. Tennessee's at Arkansas. Arkansas's back in the mix now to make the NCAA tournament with Isaiah Joe back. He played last week, scored 20-something points. Missouri's at Vanderbilt. Nobody cares about that game. As we mentioned, LSU's in town tonight against the Gators. You were talking about how these games have been very competitive against LSU. check this out,
Everything
JC.
seems to be.
The point differential of the last four, last four Florida LSU games, 2 of which went into overtime. The combined score of the last 4 games through 160 minutes of regulation play, so discount overtime. Florida 294 points, LSU 293.
Yeah. It's our version of Duke, North Carolina, QB, and I think Florida, being a 5-point favorite tonight. Certainly, there's a little pressure on the Gators, I think, because this is a game that if you're going to be serious about talking tournaments in basketball here, Florida has to come out and play well and hopefully pull this game out. I like the way they played against Kentucky. I know that the expectation was probably just go up there and make a good showing. It's hard to win up there. Everybody has lost to Kentucky this year, but Florida had a chance to win that game. So certainly like they did at LSU, they could win tonight, and if they do, that would be really a nice win going into the weekend for the Gators. Back to that Alabama-Mississippi State game last night, 80-73 was the score. Mississippi State's the team that won it, so they are 18-10, and they are what Joe Lunardi would call, the great bracketologist, they are what he would call one of the teams that are in the first 4 out, as opposed to the next 4, whatever, and they are in the 3rd position of those 4. So they're not quite in yet, according to him, and he's pretty good at this kind of thing, obviously. So they got the win they needed to win, but it's not certain. But as I've said before, and I'll say it again, you've got death, you've got taxes, and you've got Reggie Perry getting a double-double. Death, taxes, Reggie Perry, double-double.
You know what was interesting? Because I watched a little bit of that game, and I think these 9 o'clock starts, although it's only 8 o'clock there,
but
they're killing the attendance for whatever reason.
6,000 fans in that arena.
And that game meant a lot there.
It did, and it mattered, and it's just kind of depressing, to tell you the truth. The place is just quiet. The entire upper deck is not necessary, and even in the lower bowl, I saw rows of lower bowl, 3rd row seats behind the team with just 9 seats empty. It's a bad look. And I don't know if it's a function of the time, like you said, or
but
if
it's 8 o'clock there. That's not late.
Well, it isn't, but it is because, my goodness, these farmers get up early and start.
Well, that's true, but you can't have every game at 6 or 7 o'clock.
I get it.
If you want to send a text to the program, it's 352-353-7465. And if you're watching us on Facebook Live or YouTube or any of those things,
Spotify's.
I have this. It's like a Carolina blue golf shirt from Live Oaks.
QB looks like
this tremendous golf course in Mississippi. Great greens, by the way.
Great greens. So,
I thought
you look like you're on the transporter with Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock as you're about to get beamed down to Armenian 6.
Well, you're told not to wear a green shirt or a yellow shirt. This is Carolina blue.
This is a great outfit. Look how he sparkles. The pattern is just tremendous. You're alive, dude.
Anyway, we got a text here from Daryl from Green Coast Springs. He said, "Good morning, guys. If you had to pick your final 4 teams right now, would Kentucky and FSU be 2 of them?"
FSU has this thing about the tournament. They don't do well in the tournament. They have the talent. They have the players. I don't know if it's a Hamilton thing. I don't know what it is, but Florida State has struggles in the tournament.
It's hard to pick your Final 4 right now until we see the matchups and the brackets, who's playing who and what have you. But I will say this. Florida State is a team that, they've always had really athletic players that, several have gone on to the NBA. Yeah. But this year's team, it's made up of a bunch of guys that you really don't know a whole lot about. There's no star power, I guess, and they play very well together as a team. And as I said, their length and their athleticism are outstanding. So it would not surprise me. I think FSU has a very good chance to get a 1 seed if they win the ACC regular season and they make a run and win the ACC tournament.
I think if they win both of those, they're absolutely a 1
that's
seed.
True.
Duke would be, right? So certainly Florida State will be, I think, and I think you're right about them. But, I still think you're going to see Dayton get that if they go through their conference tournament and win. All those wins, 30-some-odd wins that they're going to have, a very high number. They'll get a top seed, Midwestern team. Florida State, like you say, if they go through the tournament and win the regular season ACC, no doubt they're going to get the 1 seed. You might even look at
we got Baylor and Kansas.
You might even look at one of those 2, certainly, or both, right? Mm-hmm. So it could happen. I think Kansas is a team that's kind of been under we don't talk a lot about them, but they're a very good team. They've only got 3 losses this year. We've talked mostly about Baylor in the Big 12. Of course, they came here, so we know a little bit more about Baylor. Baylor lost to Kansas the last time they played, so they split their season series. They'll likely play in the Big 12 tournament.
Gator baseball tonight. They got rained out last night against FAMU.
Yeah.
Hope to play at Stetson tonight. As I said, we're going to have Billy Embody talking LSU basketball at 8:15, 8:30. Josh Hammond, former Gator wide receiver, will join the program.
So, we talked – we've got Facebook Live coming in hard here. Rick says, do you know why the University of Dayton is called the Flyers?
And that where they didn't they start the first planes? Where were the first planes flown? That's why they're the Flyers, right?
I thought the Wright brothers invented the airplane.
That's what I'm saying. But where do they live?
That was in North Carolina.
Oh, well, then I'm wrong.
Kitty Hawk. Have you not heard of Kitty Hawk?
Yes, I have. Now that I think about it, I thought it was happening in Dayton.
We'll let Rick tell us why, because obviously
he stumped us.
We don't know. Antonio says, great podcast. Love it listening to this every night at work on my CastBox app to catch up on Gators. It's a new one on Gator Sports since I work graveyard shift. Way to go, Antonio. Thank you for being with us. I love to say that. He does not like the idea that Florida State would be in the Final Four. If he really thought they had a team to do it, he would not admit it.
I kind of agree, but
we
had to be truthful on our show
listen,
here.
We are viewed by millions and millions, and of course all over the world. And so there might be a Florida State fan that appreciates some of the good things we say, because we're trying to be honest here. That is a good basketball team. Not a good football team. Good basketball team. I think one day they will be another good football team under Mike Norvell. But certainly, I don't doubt you at all about Florida State winning.
I want to know why they're called the Flyers now.
The Dayton Flyers. Well, there's this little thing called Google. And
we're going to have Rick. I thought Rick was going to let us know.
Maybe Rick can take care of that for us. But the thing about another planet. So I think Dayton has this. We're interested in them because, well, I don't know if we are or not, but Anthony Grant is their coach, right? And so he was one of Billy's guys, and it's good. He did not succeed at Alabama, but they certainly are succeeding now. Here we go. Shane is close, according to Rick, sort of. University of Dayton students are known as Flyers. They are named after Dayton's historic sons.
I knew it had something to do with.
You were right in premise that it had something to do with the first flight. Orville and Wilbur Wright, but they did that in North Carolina. But good job, because I think you were on the right track. QB was on the right track.
We appreciate that, Rick. We got another text here from Butterballs. Do you know who Butterballs is?
This guy loves it. I mean, he's all over us.
How many years before the Gators are Final Four contenders?
Oh, well.
It's hard to say. I mean, they could make a run in this year's tournament. I've heard some experts, so-called experts on TV say that if they get in and they make some shots like they had, Noah Locke had been shooting the ball very well, but went 0 from three-point range against Kentucky. He's a key. He's got to provide outside shooting and knocking down those threes.
I think Scotty Lewis is too. I mean, he's the guy. Look, is probably one of the most athletic players.
He is
on the
the
team.
Most athletic by far.
So I would say Scotty Lewis is the kind of guy that needs to take over the situation if called upon. And of course, we it would really be cool to see Florida win a buzzer beater. And why I say that is because that would prove I don't know, has Florida won a buzzer beater this year? Do you recall? Because I don't recall them winning a buzzer beater this year. And
I don't think we've lost on a buzzer beater either, though.
Right. But what I mean by this is that if Florida wins a buzzer beater, it gives them that confidence that they can do it. And maybe they still feel they can. They haven't yet. And I want to see one of these guys hit a shot at the buzzer and everybody go crazy and run out at midcourt and give them a big hug and jump around. And maybe we're not quite there at that time of year for that to happen. But I think whenever you make a buzzer beater, that's how you're going to feel. So, Florida's basketball team has had these ups and downs, but I think we're starting to see them play maybe their best basketball of the season at just the right time, which is kind of what you want to do. It's like in gymnastics. You kind of trend your team up toward the end of the year as you do your routines, and your scores slowly climb. I know this about gymnastics now. Oh, yeah. But in basketball, this team has to keep trying to get better in all facets of the game. And I'm not Mark Wise, and I'm not going to analyze what's going to make them win or lose, but I think it's pretty obvious to anybody who watches that if they're playing better at this time of year, that's a good thing.
That's right. Well, we're going to take our first time out of the program. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Billy Embody talking LSU basketball. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System studios.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. The best restoration, masters of disaster.
Bob in trouble, gets over. Oh, big hit.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Cold Stone Creamery, Gator Dominoes.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We're going to go straight to the Titan MR hotline, and we're going to be joined now by Billy Embody, who covers LSU for 24/7 Sports at the website of Go, that's GEAUX 247.com. Billy, welcome to the program. How are you?
Good. How are you guys this morning?
Doing great. LSU, let's talk LSU basketball real quick. Obviously, they come in at 19-8, 10-4 in the league, basically sitting in second place. How crucial are these next few games before the season ends for LSU for seeding purposes in the SEC tournament?
Massive. Will Wade brought it up with us when he was visiting with us on Monday. They need that double bye. This is a team that doesn't really have the depth of a lot of the other SEC basketball teams out there, and they're a team that has been up and down as of late. They got a win on over South Carolina on Saturday in Columbia, but coming off two lackluster performances going into that, and they were looking for answers. They needed a win, and they needed to bounce back, and they did that on Saturday, and they need to sweep the Gators. That would be a huge deal for them to go up 2 games in the standings with the tiebreaker over Florida, and I can tell you this game means a heck of a lot to them.
Well, you had Darius Days the other night really come through for you at South Carolina, Billy, and this is a tough little swing for LSU, playing back-to-back road games at South Carolina, at Florida, and then playing a much better Texas A&M team. They score a lot of points, it seems like, when everybody contributes as opposed to just Mays, but Days really came through for them. Offensively, do you see an improvement that this team is having right now, or is it business as usual with LSU? They scored a lot the other night.
Yeah, I think when Darius is on this team, and I do believe this, as great of a player as Skylar Mays is and has been this year especially, this team really runs through Darius Days. When he's on, when he's not in foul trouble, when he's got maybe a little bit of his 3-point shot going and dropping, it's a big difference in how they operate offensively, how everyone else plays confidence-wise. And for him to come out and make 4 threes against South Carolina and have that going for him, because when he's got that, it spreads the floor a lot better for the team. I mean, he when he's playing like that, he's honestly one of the best players in the SEC, and he just hasn't been able to stay on the floor at times. He's been in foul trouble. He's been up and down as far as that goes, and his shot being able to drop and fall against South Carolina was huge.
Go ahead, JC.
Well, I was going to just ask Billy, as one who is following LSU, of course, and knows all LSU. when Florida and LSU get together, it just seems like whatever sport it is, it's really going to be a competitive event. LSU and Florida, I think if tonight, I think this will be the 5th time in just over 1 year that they will have gotten together playing. And it just seems like they're very familiar with each other. What is it about Florida and LSU as a rivalry between these schools that makes it special, in all sports, baseball, basketball, now gymnastics, football? Talk to me a little bit about LSU and Florida, and how do they rank with, say, an Alabama in terms of what the LSU fans think of as their biggest rival in this conference?
Yeah, I think basketball-wise, this is really emerging as a huge matchup. I think just overall, I mean, Mike White, Will Wade, two of the best coaches in the SEC, two of the toughest scouts in the SEC with just what they do and how they're able to put their teams together. I think Will is somebody that changes what he does each year, putting together his team. I mean, he has a lot of roster turnover. Mike's somebody that sticks to what he does. I mean, the way they play, the way they defend, especially, is right up there with anyone in the country. And they're adding more and more talent each year, so they're getting better. And I mean, it's really become a pretty bitter rivalry, I would say, and in both sports, football and basketball. And I think we've been treated to some really, really good games between the two teams, basketball especially the last couple of years, and football has been that way for quite some times. But this is I'm not complaining at all seeing these two get together twice a year.
Yeah.
When you look at LSU's starting 5, they all average double figures. And as JC mentioned earlier, they're a pretty young team. Everybody looks at Florida's team and thinks they're very young. They actually both start one senior, they both start one freshman, and they both start 3 sophomores. Talk a little bit about your true freshman, Trendon Watford. Is he a one-and-doner?
Yeah, we'll see. He's been up and down defensively, but offensively he's been elite. He's one of the better players on the offensive end in the SEC, and that's something that might end up keeping him in Baton Rouge another year, is his defensive play. He just hasn't been consistent enough and honestly just good enough. And Will Wade kind of alluded to it in some of his post-game press conferences over the past couple of weeks, and it kind of all built to kind of a boiling point when they lost to Kentucky. He just wasn't good enough, and Will didn't call him out by name, but everybody knew by the end of the game who he was talking about, because he was pretty adamant, or he was pretty in his face throughout the course of the end of that game. And but he's really elite offensively, and he is. This team would not be where it is without Trendon Watford and what he's been able to do on the offensive end. So you kind of take your lumps a little bit with him defensively, but I mean, he's still one of the best players in the SEC.
We're speaking with Billy Embody on the Titan MRI text line. You can check him out on Twitter at Billy Embody. He covers the LSU Tigers for 24/7 Sports. Billy, a couple last things here. I saw the comments Will Wade made talking about the scheduling this week. You know, they play tonight here in Gainesville, late start, 9 o'clock. Then they have the early game Saturday. And his quotes were, "This is not student-athlete welfare. I don't make excuses. We're the only team in the league that has to do this. The schedule's supposed to be balanced. It's not right for our players either." What do you think about those comments?
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree that it's a brutal thing to have to go on the road and play at another SEC school on Saturday and then come back and do it again with, I would say, at least in the conference, a relatively longer road trip going to Florida on Wednesday, playing the late game, and then coming back and playing the early tip-off in Baton Rouge on Saturday. Like, I don't think that is the big deal. The big deal, at least for Will Wade, is that LSU's had to do this twice, and they're the only team in the conference that has had to do this twice. And especially, and Will told us as well, he said, if we had the 5 o'clock game on Saturday against Texas A&M at home, we'd be fine, because we get the day off on Thursday, which is normal, and guys would get to kind of recuperate and get their legs back under them. And then Friday we'd prepare, and then Saturday we'd get that and the shoot around in the morning with some more time to talk and prepare and get the guys ready to go. So, I mean, that was his point. His point wasn't having to play on Wednesday and Saturday and doing this or that. It was the timing and how really LSU is the only team that has had to do that specific timing twice this year.
Gotcha. Final question for you.
I was going to ask him one quick thing about Joe, too.
About who?
About Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I'm going to go to football real quick. Right. Kevin Falk, who's been the great running back at LSU, he's the second all-time leading rusher in the conference. I didn't even know that. Yeah. He was a director of player development. He's now going to become their running back coach. Do you like this hire?
Yeah, I do. I think Ed Orgeron was looking to kind of upgrade that position in a way. I think Tommy did a good job, obviously developed Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But Kevin Falk's been around that running back room as well. And he got a pretty good, I'm trying to think of the word, but showcase, I guess, during January when he was on the recruiting trail after Joe Brady left and some of the other coaches left for other jobs, being able to recruit. And Ed Orgeron got to see that up close and personal. And I think they wanted some fresh blood in that room. And Ed has been around Kevin Falk and spent enough time around him to know that the players really respect him and love what he's done helping out the team in the player development role, and now they're ready to just give him the reins of the running back group.
Billy, we have a Facebook Live question from Todd who's asking, with LSU coming off the national championship in football, what are the expectations of fans and media on the returning guys for 2020? And then I'll follow that up with a Joe Burrow question.
You kind of broke up there. What was that?
Well, the question on Facebook Live was, what are the expectations of all the fans over there in Baton Rouge and the media on the returning players for 2020 at Louisiana State? And then I was going to go ahead and get a follow-up with Joe Burrow. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a team that has enough talent defensively. They've got enough talent at the skill positions offensively as well. It's can they piece together the offensive line? Can Miles Brennan be the guy? And nobody's expecting him to be Joe Burrow, but
Miles Brennan,
can he piece together, let's say 62% completion percentage, 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, just playing clean football? Can he do that? And that sounds like it's really watering it down and they're going to try to baby him and things like that. But this team is good enough to win 10 games with that type of a performance. If they get more out of him, he's got a chance to lead him to another SEC West title.
If Ed Orgeron had known that Joe Burrow had 9-inch hands, would he have ever gotten to play there, Billy? Honestly, that's a big deal, right? Yeah.
I think he would have been benched right away, right? That's how this works.
Nothing would have happened, right, because of those 9-inch hands. But do you think Joe's going to be the first pick of the Cincinnati Bengals? Pretty sure of that?
Yeah. And talking with one of my old roommate is a TV reporter up there in Cincinnati, and he's laughing at all the different storylines the national media is talking about, and thinking that they're not going to take an Ohio native who's just coming off the best college football season ever at quarterback.
Right. We knew this back in November. It almost seemed.
Yeah, as soon as they wrapped up that win over Alabama, it was pretty much done.
That was it.
Well, Billy, we appreciate you joining us early in the morning over there.
And we'll stay in touch, man.
Yes,
We're going to be doing a lot of LSU, Florida communication, and you're our guy. Thank you so much, Billy.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having us.
Billy Embody.
I'm looking forward to meeting him when we ever take a trip or they come to Gainesville. He'll probably be here this next season with the football team, and it'll be nice to meet him. And certainly we appreciate what he's doing for us. All right.
We're going to take our first, is this our first or second time out of the program? When we come back, we're going to be joined by Josh Hammond, former Gator wide receiver.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out!
There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. The best restoration, Masters of Disaster.
Bob in trouble, gets over. Oh, big hit.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Cold Stone Creamery, Gator Dominoes.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning, live from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. John Cornell, Shane Matthews here. We're going to go straight to the Titan MRI hotline once again, and we're going to be joined by former Gator wide receiver number 10, Josh Hammond. Josh, welcome to the program. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing great. Well, Josh, let's talk about a little bit about what, you came in, you've been here, 4 or 5 years. Dan Mullen gets the job here at the University of Florida. When he comes in, what were your expectations as a player during a coaching change? I know those are difficult times, but what did Coach Mullen do to kind of get everyone's attention here at the University of Florida?
I think the biggest thing he did was, let us know that we were kind of all in it together. The first workout we had, his first day on campus when he first, was there as a coach, we ran a campus run, and I remember he came in, with a hoodie on, tennis shoes, and, he ran it with us. And I think from that day forward, I think everybody that was in that locker room kind of knew that, he was in it with us just as much as we were too. And from that day forward, we kind of knew that he wouldn't put us in this position to not be successful because he wanted it just as bad as we did.
Josh, John Cornell here with you as well. One of the prettiest plays I saw all of last season had to be that seam route you ran against Miami when Felipe stuck it right there in your hands. And when Felipe went down in the Kentucky game, what was it like for you guys as a team? I know that the typical answer would be, well, it's next man up and we all have to get together. But how did that affect you guys as wide receivers? And then when, of course, Kyle comes in, the rest is history.
It didn't affect us much at all. Coach Mullen does a good job by rotating all 3 quarterbacks, him, Emory, and Kyle, all get reps every single day. There's times in practice where, we don't know who's throwing the ball or who's at quarterback or, just things of that nature. So it didn't really bother us from a receiver standpoint. I think probably, we were a little bit more confident just knowing because, we've repped with Kyle an endless amount of reps, same with Emory. And it didn't matter, which quarterback was going to be in the game. We were prepared for whoever was going to be thrown in that, we were comfortable to make plays.
Josh, we have a text here from one of our listeners. He says, guys, I really enjoy seeing Josh play for the Gators. Being his nickname is Hot Sauce, could you ask him what is the hottest hot sauce he's ever ate, and has he ever tried any dill pepper sauce?
The hottest hot sauce I have had.
Gotta be.
Hottest hot sauce. That's a good question.
Tabasco?
Probably say Tabasco, yeah. Tabasco's
that
probably the
blows me
hottest hot
up.
sauce.
Jeez.
Yeah, Tabasco's pretty hot. My favorite hot sauce, though, is probably like Crystal or Louisiana.
Okay. All right. Well, here's a stat for folks. Josh had 20 straight games without a drop pass, and 55% of his total receiving yards in 2019 were all yards after the catch.
Yeah.
So, Josh, we had also a text on the Titan MR text line wanting to know what it was like playing for wide receiver coach Billy Gonzalez.
Oh, it was great. Coach G is amazing. He's on our butt every single day, trying to get us better, trying to push us to be the best person that we can be. And, that's one thing that we take advantage of. We didn't take any day for granted, and neither did he. But him pushing us to be our best every single day and having such a deep wide receiver group of talent, definitely, we were always competitive, always competing against each other in anything that it was. And us just having that competitive edge and him having that competitive edge as well just drove us to be really successful.
Josh, talk to us about what's coming up now. Obviously, the draft, and you're positioning yourself. What are some of the other things you're doing to get yourself ready?
Right now, I'm just training, just continuing to work on all the different things that I'll get thrown into at Pro Day with, Pro Shuttle, L, Cone, the different routes I'm going to have to run, 40, related things. And, getting ready for, go into, any workouts that I have to go into and being able to prepare myself to, be successful.
Josh, have they set a date for Gator Pro Day yet?
March 31st.
March what?
31st.
31st. March 31st.
Last day of the month.
Real quick, what are some of what I guess when you look back at your Gator career, a couple of moments that stand out the most that are very memorable to you?
Biggest moment, Tyree Cleveland, Hail Mary, Tennessee in 2017. I think that's like the top of the list. That's something that doesn't really happen often, and just the way it happened. Not many people know this, but he called it out like the drive before. He was sitting on the bench, like just sitting there real quiet, just staring at the floor, not saying anything to anybody. And I walked over to him and I said, like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "I'm about to go win the game." And I was just like, all right. Like, what I mean? It was just so random for him to just come out and just say that. And then, 15 minutes later, the ball's up in there and he's the one to come down with it. It's just, it's a crazy thing.
One thing that stood out to me, especially the whole wide receiving group under Billy Gonzalez, is how you guys all got along.
Right.
I've never met a receiver that doesn't want the ball every play. You're always wide open on every play, no matter what. Is this something that Coach Mullen and Billy Gonzalez just talk to you guys about? How did y'all just get along? I mean, I know y'all are all good friends, but everybody wants the football. But I just thought how y'all encouraged one another and just got along, and it was very impressive to me as a former player.
I think we kind of just knew. I think when you're placed in a room that has such talent, I think we all kind of understood how talented we were as a group. And we knew that, there was one football and, opportunities would be limited. And especially with, Kyle Pitts playing the way that he played, we knew that, that would even take more balls from our room out as well. So we all hung out. We knew what we were getting ourselves into. We knew that, we all just stayed the course and nobody became selfish and everybody pushed each other to grow and be a better football player, that it would take us to where we wanted to go, which we were trying to, ultimately win a national championship. But we knew that, that unselfishness within our room would kind of help, push the kids to be better, even the younger guys that's growing up to, not be selfish and continuing to be selfless for the team. And, good things that happen.
Josh, what was your favorite play this year that you had?
My favorite play this year that I had, probably the Missouri catch, the flipping, spinning all over the place.
How about that jet sweep against Kentucky? The way that game was going, Josh.
Yeah, jet sweep was good too.
I mean, that was basically. I know a lot of people in Vegas that were happy you guys did that because it wasn't looking good for those Florida bettors. But boy, you guys really came through there and pulled that one out. That was a tough game, wasn't it, Josh? That Kentucky game really kind of set the tone for Kyle, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. The game was definitely tough. Just for him to come in and play the way he did, and being down. I think we're down 17. For him to come in and I think we won by 8 was big. Just for him to come in and gain that confidence to boost him kind of through the season.
Josh, okay, so you back home trainer? Or are you in Gainesville training? Where are you
Yeah,
doing all
I'm
this?
back home.
Back
Yeah,
home
I'm back
training?
home in South
Do you
Florida,
train with your brother at all?
No, my brother's in Gainesville actually.
Oh, he's in Gainesville. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
Well, there he goes.
so pro day is March 31st.
Yep.
So you're
Yes,
getting
sir.
ready, working on your 40 time, the L drill, the shuttle, all that silly stuff that has nothing to do with playing football, in my opinion. Would you agree or disagree? It's all about going out and producing
Yeah.
with the pads on.
Yep, that is true.
All right,
That is
Josh.
true.
Well, hey, man, good luck to you. We'll be keeping our eye on and hoping for the best. Okay.
And if you want to follow Josh on Twitter, it is at J_Hammond10. Josh,
Hammond
appreciate
10.
you joining
There
the
you go.
program, buddy. Good luck,
Yep.
pro day and the draft and all that stuff, and we'll be following you.
All right.
All right. Yep. Thank you.
All
Thanks
right,
for
that's
having me.
Josh Hammond,
All right,
former
Josh.
Gator wide receiver,
Josh
joining the program.
Probably going to go now and get some coffee and
He ain't drinking coffee,
get
JC.
himself away. What?
I don't think he's drinking coffee.
No,
today.
it was a great play there against Kentucky. They're up by a point, and now they're up by 8, and then 9. So anyway, good stuff, man. We've had some good stuff here. Billy Embody and Josh Hammond. I remember Frankie Hammond. He was
That's his
quite
brother.
a clutch player for the Florida Gators. So as we go forward, we've got about 15 minutes left in the program, QB, and we've been talking about, if you just joined us, and of course you can always go back and watch here on the podcast on Facebook and on YouTube. We've had a discussion about basketball. We've had Billy and Body of the LSU 24/7 folks come on and talk about tonight's big game at 9 o'clock. A little late, but, just kind of take a nap and get ready to cheer because the
your
Gators need to
5-hour
win
energy.
this one. Got to have. It doesn't hurt. It just doesn't hurt to give you a little boost, right? It helps me. I'd rather do that than drink hot coffee all morning. So, and I'm not a coffee guy.
Well,
Are you
before
a
the
coffee
game,
guy?
no, I do not
No,
drink
I
coffee
do
at all.
not either.
Before the game, you can head on over to Celebration Point
Sure.
where the Gators
That'd
go
be a great
celebrate.
idea.
Celebrate before the game with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon to HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate.
So, and don't worry, the QB is not going to transport away from the studio, even though he's sparkling right now. A little wardrobe
Carolina
malfunction.
blue shirt doesn't work. We know that now.
So, NFL, big news for all of our NFL fans and listeners, and of course, that's just about everybody. The collective bargaining agreement is close. It's very close, as a matter of fact. They met last night in Carmel, Indiana, and Indianapolis, and they basically have come to what you could consider as a tentative agreement. And some of the things the owners have given the players now in this negotiation is a raise of the minimum salary to approximately $90,000 to $100,000 extra dollars, so it's more money for that. The practice squad will now get benefits, 401k, and other things. Those spots will be increased from 10 to 12 and eventually to 14 spots for practice squad players. So that gives them more chances to be employed and a better opportunity to collect a paycheck, obviously. They have removed, and this is a big one. This was probably the biggest one that got the players' representatives two-thirds so that they could take it back to the teams. $250,000 cap has been removed on the 17th game. The owners really want a 17th game. There is a lot of money involved in that. So a $250,000 cap on the players has now come off, so the players can enjoy more money as well for that 17th game. And that roster, and that will likely happen either in 2021 or 2022 at the earliest. So expect 17 games either next season, not next season, but the season after next season, or in 2022. And then another big one for the players also was that they are going to expand the rosters from 53 to 55. So you've got 2 extra spots to try to make the team, and the team has 2 extra players to help with the depth issues of a 17-game series. Season, and I also tend to believe, and I don't know
when they do this 17-game
if
season, are you
this is
talking
true.
about deleting some of the
Right, I was
preseason
going to get
games?
to the preseason. They'll probably take away 1 or 2 of those.
They need to take away 2 of them.
Well, they'll likely take away 1 and have 3 preseason games. I didn't get that quickly enough, or I didn't get that information to be confirmed yet, but it's probably going to be down to 3 preseason games. You will have 17 games. Players won't have a cap on that game in terms of earnings, and certainly the roster expansion from 53 to 55, the practice squad expansion from 10 to 12, and eventually 14 is all for the players. They get also a minimum salary increase. So they're going to approve this, and they really don't have much leverage, and they should and will. The owners want to get this done because they know that the television contract is coming up soon. That is the lifeblood of all the money that comes to the NFL. They also know that we are in a pretty good economy right now. They also know that things can change. And so you want to negotiate when things are good and hopefully continue on so that you can lock in what you are enjoying in the event of systemic risk out there or something happening that you can't control. And I certainly think that the owners are looking forward to getting that done this year as well. So we will have NFL football. We will not have a ridiculous lockout or any type of strike. And that, I don't think, was ever a real big concern, but it had happened in the past in the 80s. It likely will never happen again with all the money that's floating around today. So I certainly think that's very good news. I also saw something, QB, you might want to comment on. Down in, I guess it's Cocoa, where the Houston Astros are having spring training, there was a sign in front of their facility that said, "Welcome to wherever it was, Cocoa, home of the Houston Asterix." And then that sign was removed, so they're still stealing signs.
All right.
You get it?
I get it.
Do you get it, Taylor?
He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it.
I took the sign away.
Yeah, you love that.
The Houston Asterix.
The asterisks. I do like that. We're going to go to our play of the day.
Oh, we got to do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's get that.
Taylor, today's play of the day is brought to you by the best restoration. Whether flood, fire, or Mother Nature calls, call the masters of disaster today. And our play of the day, we're going to go to the West Coast in the Staples Center. LeBron James dropped a season-high 40 points. First player with a 40-point game in his 17th season or later since the one and only Kobe Bryant did it in 2003. Ugh. So it just seems like ever since that tragic accident that
Taylor, keep it running.
it's just, it's these records here and there, breaking Kobe's records.
Well,
but it's pretty cool.
Ric Flair was in the audience, believe it or not.
Boy, the Nature Boy was there?
Yeah, the Nature Boy was there. Certainly we have copyright things to consider here, and so we can't stay with the whole play, but it's good enough. Oh, I'm not supposed to say that? I'm just trying to make sure that we don't get in trouble here. Don't want any trouble on Matthews in the morning. We're all about observing and honoring the rules, certainly. Big game tonight at the O'Connell Center, Exact Tech Arena, whatever you want to call it, the home of the Gators. LSU coming in at 9 o'clock. I suggest you head down to Celebration Point and enjoy some pregame festivities at some of the nice places down there that you get to do that at. The Gators looking pretty good right now, 4th in the conference. They are certainly looking.
Well, the key is to stay in one of those top four. So you get those buys in the tournament. 17-10.
That's what Billy was talking about with those extra days off. Playing back-to-back tournament time is tough for some teams, especially those who are on the bubble trying to make it. They got to really win. I mean, they don't have a choice unless they want to go to the NIT. Florida 17-10, 4th in the SEC. I'm kind of surprised by the fact that they are a 5-point favorite, but I don't do that kind of thing in terms of making lines, so I really wouldn't know how they factor that in. Why do you think they're a 5-point favorite? They lost by 1 at LSU.
Because they're at home and the teams are pretty much even.
Good. They are good at home, and I get it. 5 points is a lot, though. I mean, to me, it's LSU.
That's 2 3-pointers, JC.
That's true. I mean, in basketball, you're right. That could really be handled easily, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's better. They did win by 7 or 6 at South Carolina the other night. LSU did. So they are pretty tough team to beat. Certainly, even on the road, they've had a great season so far. At one point, they were the only unbeaten team in the league. So,
the key to beating LSU is you got to keep them off the glass.
Keep them off the boards.
They're not a great shooting team. Yeah. They drive the basketball. They crash the boards. They get a lot of second chance points. But man, they're so athletic.
And they're young, like you made the point earlier in the show, how they resemble Florida in many ways. So they've got some real good players, though. They've got a potential one-and-done guy, which we don't have here at Florida. So I certainly think.
Well, some say Scotty Lewis may be one-and-done.
But, okay, maybe they say that. I would disagree. But I think that.
Now Oh, I
What
just
happened
kicked the
there?
camera.
You kicked the camera, QB. I mean, disrupting. You don't wear any legitimate, valid
Look,
clothes.
this
I mean,
is
you
Carolina blue.
You are in violation.
I was
of
told
rules.
no green and no yellow. Carolina blue
Right now,
is not
Scotty
green or yellow.
is pulling the transporter to send you back to the Enterprise. Jen G says, "Hey, Johnny, last time I saw you, we were at an NFL game." That's right, Jen. The only game I've ever been to. It's great to see you too, Jen G, and say hi to your wonderful husband for me as well. And that was our glorious trip to Nashville when, of course, I remember the other day I wore the Nash hat. We went to Nashville, big gathering for somebody who was celebrating something, like a birthday maybe, and we were all there at the Titans game, and she hosted us, not Jen, but the person we were celebrating with hosted us in their big box, their luxury box. And we saw Tennessee overrun Jacksonville that day. And Derrick Henry scored 2 touchdowns, I think, within 24 seconds because of a turnover that happened on the ensuing kickoff. So the Titans really started to play well. The Saints came in a few weeks later and beat them, but the Titans somehow slipped into the playoffs and made it to the AFC Championship game. So I'm sure Jen and I will both agree that we had a kind of a little liking for the Tennessee Titans. My wife certainly loved going there and watching an NFL game from that vantage point in the box. It was cool. It was great weather. Nashville's the best place. I mean, it's just one of the best places ever, and you have to go if you haven't. And a great opportunity for you to go to Nashville would be at the SEC basketball tournament. It might be tough to get good seats right now, but it's a big arena, Bridgestone. They hold about 19,000 fans there. You could probably easily get a ticket to go watch basketball if you have the time. I know a friend of mine who I work with, Matt, he's going to go to the SEC basketball tournament in Nashville, and I
You think he's going to go to all the games, or are you just going to watch the Gator games?
He likes basketball, and if I were going, I would want to watch Mississippi State play Ole Miss. I would want to watch Georgia play, LSU. I would want to watch South Carolina play Arkansas. Those are fun to see because then you get to see how the other schools do it with the time in between, during the timeouts with the bands and their cheerleaders and their fans and everything that goes into the experience of watching a college basketball game. And these games are generally pretty darn good to watch because they're usually close. Teams are really trying to advance their chances to get into the big dance. So SEC tournament is a great thing to go watch, and now with it's expanded now with the added teams we have with Missouri and Texas A&M. But the tournament in Nashville itself, if you don't want to watch a game, or if you just want to watch your team or miss a particular session that you're not interested in, the arena is literally right in the middle of all the fun stuff on Broadway Street, where all of the restaurants and all of the bars and all of the music, which is 24/7, if you're into that kind of thing, is right there in walking distance. You basically just have to Uber from your hotel. $7 later, you're right in the middle of Disneyland for grown-ups. So I certainly love Nashville. I can't wait to go back. I'm going to go back. We are. And you've been telling me all these years that that's the place to go.
It's the best city in the country.
Well, I mean, it's just and it's so much fun. And the Titans play right across the river from Broadway. I mean, you can literally walk across the bridge over to Nissan Stadium and watch the Titans play if you're lucky enough to be there during a weekend that they have a home NFL game. And it's worth going to. It really is.
We had a Facebook Live. Freddie asked, do we think the Gators stay undefeated on the Billy Donovan court?
Yeah.
I do. I think they
why
win.
not? They're
I think
going
they
to
win
tonight.
tonight.
I was just bringing up that 5 points because I think it's a lot. But like you said, it's only 2 3-pointers. So, and a couple missed free throws, and boom, they win by 7. So certainly it'll be a fun night to watch. I'm going to be up. I know we come here early. We have to drive, across the country to get here, but we certainly get here on time. And by getting here on time, that means that we have to suck it up if we stay up late, and that's what I plan on doing again.
Yep. Well,
but thank you for that, Jen.
Having
Thank
said
you
that,
for
we wanna-
everybody sending us Facebook Live
we want to
messages.
thank
I love
Billy
that.
Embody
That's good
talking
stuff.
LSU basketball, LSU sports. We want to thank
told you
Josh
about my
Hammond
trip.
taking time out of his day, former Gator. We wish him a lot of luck
Yeah.
in the upcoming draft and Gator Pro Day. Today's show is a wrap, brought to you by WrapSpot. A vehicle wrap from WrapSpot will give your business years of brand recognition and increased sales. Call WrapSpot today. We'll see you tomorrow.